with riparian mushrooms here, and this may not be, yeah, you may want to edit some of this out so we don't give it all away to the general public. But mushrooms are a really good reflection of their environment. You will find two mushrooms side by side. One came up a week ahead of the other, and if there has been moisture in the meantime, the second one will be huge compared to the first one. If there's been sunshine and drying conditions, then the first one will look considerably different from the new fresh one that's emerging. And thirdly, if you've had a frost, you'll have sometimes mushrooms, even you'll find the top is hit by frost when the bottom is still warmed by the earth and things like this. So you'll see a lot of, you can literally read the weather history by looking at the mushrooms that you find over the course of a week or so. Get down to this level, get down to dog level, and or lift your, do this with your head, do a heron. You know, you ever wonder why the herons are doing this? That's because as you do this, you'll see things jump out of the background. You know, you'll see when you get that, you'll kind of see the things will pop out. Get yourselves a stick, right? And something to scoot the leaves around with, because you're going to be looking for little ruptures in the skin of the leaves that are here, little poke throughs, little push-ups, things like that. And that's what we're gonna, if you have a bit of a stick, that will save you, you know, getting down on your hands and knees and trying to push the leaves apart. All right, let's have a look, see what we can find here. So we did find an artist conch growing on one of the logs there. Now watch, even though it's been wet, because I had to knock it off into the water, he's still drawing it.
Cool.
And that'll be permanent. That's where I had to bust it off. That's where the mark is. But yeah, you can. Just using your fingernail. This is related to the lingqi, the reishi that I showed you earlier. And I might even have with me, yeah, this guy here. Ah! Just happen to have this conch in my pocket. Fancy that. And this is a Chinese medicinal for over 6,000 years. This is one of the high quality units that you can buy cultivated, you know. And this is our wild child. Very similar. These are both considered immune stimulants, or immunomodulators is the word, because they have sesquiterpenes and polysaccharides. Some interesting polysaccharide, beta-glucan polysaccharides especially. We have just discovered, which is a really cool little bit of science trivia, that the cellulose that bacteria make and the cellulose that fungi make are different from the cellulose that plants make, in that they're used for making biofilms, and they embellish the cellulose with potassium and nitrogen compounds. And so they have this little, they put these little, what would you say, decorations on the cellulose fibers that they use for biofilms. And biofilms are what makes things so hard to deal with in terms of disease, because the bugs make themselves a polysaccharide raincoat, and nothing can get to them. So this tends to go around that. This tends to work against the biofilm situation somehow. This one here is a Polyporus arcularis. It is edible. You can see it. It's a little, but isn't that a cool honeycomb on the bottom of the mushroom? And these grow on our cottonwood trees in the springtime. This is a widely distributed group. We find these in the tropical Amazon jungles. We find them we find them all the way here, all the way to well into Canada, and pantropically. They're found in a lot of countries in Indonesia and stuff. Okay, this is Usnea. This is probably Usnea barbata growing here. You can always tell this from other lichens, because when you pull the thread apart, you get a little white thread in the middle. You see that little white thread that emerges in the middle as I pull it apart. Usnea barbata, and this stuff is a powerful topical antibiotic. Do not eat this. This will kill every bacteria in your gut, and you'll be talking about antibiotics for a while. It has been used as a tincture. It certainly works in a topical way really well, and you can even, one thing that I've seen that I thought was very clever is you can shake it up with a little warm water, and then it becomes an anti-germ hand rinse. If you want to, do a soap-free type of camp sanitizing situation, that's a very easy thing to do. And you guys both found Phelinus.
Yours is so interesting.
Isn't that neat? Those are both the same species. And notice that they have the brown hymenium. See the kind of rusty brown color on that whole spore-bearing surface. And on the top, they both should be cracked. This one's hanging off this bottom of a log probably, but you'll see some cracks here. You definitely see the cracks on this side. And both of them also have the reddish orange context, which is kind of similar to what we see in chaga, which makes sense because this is related to chaga. See them by my finger? Once you start seeing them, you'll see them all over the place. They're right here. These are called fire cups, or fire following fairy cups. They will get by the time the morels are done, those things will be as big around as your pinky fingernail. It is Peltigera canina, appropriately named, the dog pelt lichen. And this looks like, I guess the Indians thought this was like a dog pelt. 4 species here, depending on the presence or absence of hairs and whether they're black or forked. This is probably canina here, I'm not sure which one. We have 2 different kinds of Bryoria. One of them is Fremontii, after Captain Fremont. And the other one is the Chiaroscura, which is light and dark. And the only way that you can really tell them apart is to find little tiny soria that are growing on there. And they're little light gray things, or they're little lime green, the same lime green color you see on the Lotharia. And the ones that are lime green are really best to eat. These are okay, but they're maybe a little bit dirt flavored, maybe. And so what you do is you take this lichen and you soak it in water overnight. And then if you're in primitive conditions and you're hungry, Then you just take this, after you've soaked it overnight in water, then you twist it around a stick and you hold it over the fire and you cook it for a little bit and then you chew it.
And eventually swallow it.
And you swallow it after a while.
After a while.
And it's actually, if you follow my directions carefully and soak it all night and then cook it over the fire for 4 or 5 minutes, it'll be succulent as any seaweed you've ever had in your life. Found some Hericium. I know it's a dried out old mushroom, but this is a Hericium mushroom. And these guys, we'll find 20, 30 pounds of these in the fall. This is the one that I was telling you about that helps with nerve regeneration. Wow. And it's a delicious food too, because it's growing on there and because it has this, feel that spongy kind of quality that it has. They tend to grow in between the bark and the wood in that cambium space. You'll find them in the fall. It'll look like somebody stuffed a bunch of styrofoam in between the bark and the wood. And you just kind of peel the bark back and you'll find sometimes fruiting bodies are like this, you know, maybe an inch too wide and 2-3 feet long. They recently did research on them and found that there's an ingredient in there that really helps your nerve regeneration. So as far as a medicine, if you know folks who suffer from diabetes and things like this is a tremendous food supplement to help your balance your nerve issues. So this is another neat mushroom. It's called Apiosporum morbosum, but you'll remember the other name easier. It's ick on a stick. Ick on a stick is a pretty easy one to remember. And although people think it looks like chaga, it's not chaga. No, it looks like a turd on a stick, yeah.